Good morning, everyone. I appreciate y'all being here, and it's always so nice to speak to most people that I know. So a lot of you will have been part of this process already, so it may be just a little reminder, but other people, it's a great opportunity to give some information about the plan. Oh, great, thank you. Did I need to do anything with this? Okay, I guess not. Okay, so I just want to have you recall that back in June, I believe, I was here with a panel from the Manhattan Project, but prior to that, we were able to introduce our consultants from the design workshop. Becky Zimmerman and Anna Laybourne were here, and they just kind of gave you a little preview of the tourism strategic plan. And so off of that, Nancy asked me to just give a little update of where we are. You know, we're more than halfway through the plan, looking kind of towards the end of the year as of the completion. So this will kind of get everyone up to speed on that. So as county staff, we all look towards the council for our strategic goals. And back several years ago, they were really trying to maximize the opportunity of the new Manhattan Project Park and figure out how that could help our economy. That coupled with attracting new tourism-related business and the marketing of us as a scenic destination. So those were all, the lower ones were the original goals of council. But then about a year ago, they actually grouped all those and said, you know what, let's just be real concise and direct on what we want. We want to build the local tourism economy. So that was the staff's marching orders to go off and do that. And through a number of, over about a year, we had lots of discussions with council, some work sessions. We did a little exploring on, what's the first step of kind of doing that? And through that, we learned that a lot of communities start with a planning effort, a strategic planning effort to really methodically figure out where you are, basically, your current situation, the current status, where you want to go, kind of that visionary look. And then what are those steps to get to that spot, to get to that vision? And so that's, again, we're given marching orders to go do that. We did a RFP process, actually had a great response, had 11 consultants bid on it. But let me, before I move on to that, we've started to use this as kind of the vision of where Los Alamos is. We're at this crossroads. We had these amazing opportunities, the new Manhattan Project Park, and bonus on that, the Vice Caldera also became a national park as a national preserve, and the ski hill turned over ownership and has a private owner that is starting to put some money into it and build it up. And so, new nature center, renovations to Fuller, and so there's all these ingredients that the county has, the area has, and how do we really leverage those for not only tourists and visitors, but for us residents? We all want a little bit more in town. We don't want to harm our small town feel, but we all want a little bit more. Maybe restaurants that stay open a little bit longer, or on Sundays, more retail and such. So with all these things, this is the moment. This is the crossroads of where we go with all this. Do we kind of let it kind of happen naturally and maybe a little bit more, maybe not? Or do we really plan for it? Do we really strategically look for a way to use this opportunity? And so that's really the vision that we feel like we are. So like I said, as a council and staff, we've decided to go for the strategic planning process. And this is what we are hoping to get out of it, this plan. It's really, like I said, a needs assessment. It's really what we have currently, what are the gaps, what are the needs, gaps. And then big part of it that we heard from council was you need to get public input. There has got to be public input in this process. This is not something that will be done in a vacuum. So as part of it, there were to be 5 public forums. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Finally, we need some recommendations. We need experts in that field to tell us, what do you need to do? What are those recommendations? And for us, we really need that roadmap for 5, 10 years. What are those steps that will get us, like I said, to our vision that we have? And so it was a 8-month, I think it's going to stretch now to 9-month planning process, with the end result being this deliverable, this plan. Here's kind of the schedule. We kicked off in early May, and as I indicated, through this RFP process, we had 11 proposers, and the successful proposer was Design Workshop. They have lots of different offices across the country, but the staff that we're working at are headquartered in the Denver area, and so they will start as you see the 5 phases: orientation phase, a baseline analysis, situational analysis, plan documentation, and plan adoption. So like I said, 8 to 9 month schedule, started out in May. And the first thing that was a part of that was something called a tourism work group. And if you recall, it was a much longer title before, and I'd struggle. I think it was like a tourism, strategic plan, economic development, master plan. I'm sorry, we really shortened it. So this is a council-appointed group, and I am pleased to see several members of our work group here. If you kind of raise your hands just so people know. Yeah, there are several. I knew there were. Okay. So they were a council-appointed group. These were all citizens that raised their hands and said, I'm interested. I want to be a part of this process. I have a vested interest in the county in this area. And so council appointed a total of 20 members. 3 of those members were representatives from our attractions, our nature center, the ski hill, and the history museum. And then we also have our 3 superintendents from the national parks as liaisons. They can't be actual members, but they're liaisons, and they attend as they can the work group meetings. And so that group is really a big part of the stakeholder group, and also is kind of guiding our consultant in what to expect from Los Alamos and giving them insight, that they could not otherwise get. So the first process, I'll just say that in the orientation process, we delivered to our consultants over 60 documents, so plans and documents that were county generated, LACDC generated. I think the Historical Society gave some of their strategic plan and their information that they've done through other consultants. And really what that formed was the basis of where we are now. What are we currently doing? We gave them all our contracts that we have existing, and it kind of gave them a feel for what the current situation is in Los Alamos. I said one of the driving messages that we heard from council was that you need to have public engagement throughout this process. And so here are a few ways that we did that. Like I said, the first way was definitely our tourism work group. That really is a group of citizens. As we all know in Los Alamos, people wear many hats. So you have people on that work group that, may be a business owner, but also may be the president of a local, the Rotary or something. So, it really is a great diverse group of representative of the community. Secondly, the consultant asked us to look at, they're called focus groups, and they were obviously focused on one area, and so those were in 4 different areas: downtown vitality and visitor services, cultural attractions and events, recreational attractions and activities, and then we also have the Economic Vitality Action Team, which is a county team. And so we reached out to probably about 70 people in those areas. We kind of strategized using the tourism work group. We strategized on who to invite and who would be available for those focus groups. And back in June, when our consultants were here, they were actually having those focus group meetings. So there ended up being 4 meetings. They ended up being about 38 people that participated in those meetings. And our consultants really just listened. They asked what are the gaps. They asked what are the dreams. They asked what kind of collaborations do you use? What is events? How do events play into our visitors? And they came up, there was a few findings of those. Again, one that we kind of already know, there are numerous ingredients for tourism already existing in Los Alamos. But we lack the lodging, and that impedes people coming for multiple days. And then finally, there are some tourist service and facilities deficiencies that also negatively impact residents, which we talk about, the lack of the restaurants and hotel and such. As I also indicated, part of the public engagement was the 5 public forums, and through that we also will utilize an online survey. And then also council meetings, and as you'll see later on, we'll be at council next week to give some information. So again, huge public engagement portion and expectation of this plan. Okay, so back in September 6th, we had our first public meeting, and this meeting was really to determine kind of vision, kind of feelings and values in the community. And through it, the consultant showed us 4 different scenarios, kind of 4 different futures of tourism in Los Alamos. And through these 4 different possible scenarios, we gauged how the community felt about those. And what was very interesting, and I'll go back, this is a picture from the meeting. We were very excited to have over 100 people at that meeting. And really how we were excited about was using something called a keypad polling. And it literally was not much bigger than this. And throughout the meeting, our consultant gave information, but also then asked questions. And as she asked questions, you could vote. And then once everyone had voted, she hit a button and you saw the results on the screen. So for us, it was a great way to get everyone in the room to give their opinion. There was very little, there was a little bit of opportunity for people to speak, but not much. And so we felt like it enabled the people that normally may not speak in a public setting, the opportunity to give their input as well. And so some of the next few slides, I just kind of want to give you what we heard during that public meeting. And we were very excited. And what I'll say is that we had 100 people at that meeting, and then right after the meeting, we turned on an online survey and got a couple hundred more people to fill out the online survey. But a component of the online survey that I really appreciated was that the consultant recorded her presentation and the slides as part of the survey. So you were able to see the presentation and answer the questions with a little bit of knowledge. Some people didn't appreciate that, but for people that really want information prior, that was a good thing. So the results that I'm showing are the full results, both the public meeting and the survey. So and I'm sorry, I know you probably can't read any of this. It's very small. So really the first few were just like, just trying to get some information. What do you think are the most important outcomes for a community if the county implements an improved tourism plan. And I'll just give you the highlighted ones. The ones are existing local businesses supported. Almost 50% of the people indicated that. More restaurants and open hours, over 50%. And a couple of the other large ones, expanded recreation and entertainment activities, and the diversified Los Alamos economy. So we're all kind of thinking all on the same page. We also asked about what are your concerns? Because it's all not going to be wonderful. There are concerns in the community of what could happen if we grow the number of visitors and the tourists. And so the number one concern was some parking issues. And second to that was traffic congestion and crime. So again, these are all things that can be minimized and mitigated through the planning process as well. So then, like I told you, the consultant came up with these 4 scenarios, and I'm just going to go over them quickly because the rest of the questions kind of follow from there. The first scenario is basically we can do exactly what we're doing. We do some marketing. We have a great visitor center. We try and leverage off of the New Mexico True campaign. We try and collaborate as we can. So really, what would happen? Visitation would continue to grow incrementally, probably slower. There'd probably be little change to our lodging or retail. And we mostly would get the day visitors. So that's one scenario. That's A, sorry. B is you would upgrade services. So that would the upgrade would be in services, not as much in infrastructure, let's say. So you could, the outcome could be the increase of day visitors. They'd participate in more activities because you're working on the marketing to get them to those activities. And restaurants probably could be open more because you're going to have more people there during the day. And what would you improve? Well, you'd continue to promote the 3 national parks. We'd work out our events calendar so people can look at events that they want, and we'd market to that. We'd coordinate a little bit more regionally, improve visitor centers, those kind of things. So again, really concentrate on the services. That's B. C, we're calling enhance the community for residents and visitors. The outcomes would be, that's where you start to look at more of the infrastructure needs. The more lodging, you'd have, get more restaurants, you'd redevelop blighted areas. And how would you do that? Well, you'd figure out how to entice lodgers to relocate here, to create more hotels. You'd expand your marketing reach, maybe, much more regionally or nationwide. You'd maybe start to develop multi-day events like Science Fest or Grow Science Fest, but also additional events. You do all your wayfinding and those kind of things. And again, the trail and bike improvements. So again, you'd start to work on like I said, kind of the infrastructure needs. That's C. And then scenario D is kind of a mix of B and C. You'd kind of do it all. You do the marketing, and you'd also kind of do the infrastructure. Okay, so on those, you got to keep those in your mind. Okay, so then we went to the survey. So which scenario do you think best supports the community vision? And over half, 53%, says scenario D, kind of doing it all. And again, 25% scenario C. Which scenario do you anticipate would best provide the quality of life you desire? And again, these are mostly citizens. We get almost half the people saying scenario D, doing it all. Again, they're about 31% to scenario C, which is the infrastructure. And finally, in 5 years, what would you like to see related to tourism? And the number one, about 67%, is more overnight, multi-day tourists who are contributing to our tax base. And again, more More day visitors is about 38%. So, before I go back, I'll say the survey results were really positive. We were excited to see a lot of people were feeling like we were, that this is the moment for Los Alamos to really capitalize on this. Not only because we have a great community and we have great history and cultural and recreation opportunities. I mean, we want to share that. We want people to know about us. That's exciting to us too. But I think us as residents, we also see the opportunity to get some amenities that we may not have been able to get with our population of 18,000. So this really, for the staff that are working on the plan and our consultants, basically say that we are open to it all. For them to give us recommendations on our services and our infrastructure. And so as we continue, you'll kind of see that, that charge that we see it in this survey. So what is next? What's coming up next? So like I said, next Tuesday, so a week from yesterday, we'll be down in White Rock giving a presentation, really having a discussion with council at the work session. So Fire Station 3 in White Rock, 6 o'clock. There's a couple other items prior to that one, but we'll be on, our consultant Becky Zimmerman will be in town. She'll be, as part of their orientation, they have created a baseline analysis report, kind of a summary of what they heard and saw and learned in all those reports and through those focus groups. She'll be going over that analysis. She'll also be sharing some examples of some other communities that have done similar projects or similar planning efforts as far as tourism goes, and kind of, where did they end up? What results did they have? And then she'll also be sharing, again, these public survey results for council, so council has a feel for what the community is saying. The next opportunity, well, obviously, council meeting is always an opportunity for public comment, but the next formal public forum will be November 8th. It's a Wednesday. We'll be in Fuller Lodge. And that we will start to introduce and present and unveil the draft. So we'll start to see pieces of the draft plan, and our anticipation is there'll be a little bit of keypad polling, and we will also have 4 different activities that you will cycle through to give your input in 4 different areas. We anticipate that the draft plan will be released to council. We're on the agenda towards the end of November, and then final plan consideration and hopefully adoption will come probably right at the very beginning of January of 2018. So what can you do? So I'm asking everyone, LosAlamosTourismPlan.com is the website. There's some background information. There's our tourism work group meetings that are all open meetings. There's the survey results. There's the presentation that was given at the public meeting. So there's lots of information there. Obviously, you can attend council's work session and give your input or just listen. Participate in the forum and keep an eye out for that draft plan because we'd love feedback on it. And then if you have any questions or concerns, please contact me. So I thank you for the opportunity this morning and open it up for any questions. Okay. That's okay. I'm okay with no questions.
That just means there's fear, not that there are no questions.
Oh, fear? There can't be fear. Yeah, Rin.
So the results of the polling, was that, you might have said this and I just missed it, was that a combination?
It was.
Okay.
So because we did, so our anticipation was always to use the results in the actual meeting. And that was about 100 people. I think there was about 107 is what I say. We weren't quite getting that number of people voting. And then we had a little over 200 respond to the online survey. And I'll tell you that the demographics, I forgot to mention this, the demographics were mostly over 20-year residents and age between 35 and 65, I believe, were the majority. So for whatever, and like I said, the full results are on the Los Alamos Tourism Plan.com. I just pulled a few. But this is a combination. So if you were in the public meeting, some of these numbers may have were probably a little bit higher. So
Oh, really? They were higher?
they were higher. So if you took a picture or remember a number from the actual meeting, the online survey brought it down a little bit. And brought it down, like I said, the one I remember, the number was 70%, and in final analysis, it dropped down to probably 62% or something. So not much, but it did. So that's, again, that's, people, people argue, oh, well, you brought everyone you wanted to the meeting, and we say, well, no, then the survey kind of evened that out. Yeah.
I have a
Mhm.
question. My name is Michelle Stump. I'm with the state of New Mexico.
Okay.
And I'm affiliated with UNMLA. I'm up here to develop the career pathways for the UNMLA healthcare students.
Okay.
And I do some private duty placement. To say it in short form, I'm here to get the healthcare students jobs.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I see for Los Alamos that would be great is retirement tourism. I'm up here. I love it up here. I think this would be the best place in the U.S. to retire. And UNMLA can provide people to help seniors in their own homes. So that's kind of my
Okay,
take on
nice.
retirement and tourism here. Is there anything in the works in that direction?
I'll have to ask our consultant. Yes.
I'll comment on that just a little bit, because going back previous committee to this work group that focused on the park, a lot of that came up. And part of it is the demographics that is most interested, especially right now in the Manhattan Project
Right.
District,
Yeah.
tends to be an older group. And so a lot of the focus, not so much specifically we're going to do this, but the needs that we recognize that is going to be transportation and mobility, issues like that, because honestly, that's a lot of who we see in town as tourists right now. And so, again, not so much focused on specifying that group as providing services that make it easy for them to visit up here.
Well, I just want everybody to know that UNMLA can provide certified
Nice.
nursing assistants and personal care attendants. And I've got my business cards here, and if anybody's interested, they can call me, because I'd love to come talk to the county about this. I think it'd be a real opportunity.
Perfect. Well, I will note, the county does have a social services division. And maybe if I'll take your card and I'll have them contact
Yeah,
you,
that'd be
because
great.
they do some case coordination.
Yeah.
And I think I think the senior center is under service agreement to do some case coordination for seniors. So we should know that.
And you can contact Danny Fell
Oh, yeah.
with the county, the health council also,
Is that
Is it-
FELL?
Yes.
FELL.
But if you give me your card, I'll make sure they get it.
Health council will very actively invite you to come to the
Yeah,
presentation.
that'd be a great
Includes
spot.
most health organizations in the county.
See, I think this is a fantastic group. This does connect people like
Yeah, good. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time this morning, and look forward to seeing you.
Before you try-
Oh, yeah.
Since it is a chamber breakfast,
Of course.
under scenario D.
Yes.
What do you see the role of the chamber being? What's our responsibility?
What's your responsibility? Oh, now you're going to put me on the hook. So I'm going to cheat. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm looking up something. Yeah, of course he leaves. I think part of the, a couple of the things that we're focusing on that I believe we'll get recommendations on. Again, this is all still kind of in the draft. We've talked a lot about customer service. Bye. And I see the chamber being very instrumental in that. So, you know, the other thing I failed to mention is, you know, the county did our branding, and we're kind of implementing that brand. And these are not kind of separate efforts. The branding really is an overarching of the tourism, the business, residents, and it's how we exceed or meet expectations of visitors or residents or employers. And so the chamber, you know, the interactions that chamber members or all businesses or even us as citizens have with people that come to town all play a part of it. And so I think that that's where we're looking at the businesses to come together, collaborate, and, you know, like we said, deliver those aha moments to our visitors, you know, exceed their expectations of what they, you know, want in Los Alamos. And so those are all opportunities. And as this plan goes forward, intertwined in that will be the brand implementation. So that will all, I think, be opportunities for our businesses to participate.
So tourism training, customer service
I think that's all. I think that's all interspersed. I think we can't expect people to come and recommend other people and come back unless we deliver these, you know, a great experience to them. And what and how that means, I think, is still on the table. But I think it's also that they hear and see and feel the same way when they walk around town.
Hospitality training more than
I think that's
standard retail customer service.
Yeah, and I think it'll all be kind of hinged in that brand. You know, what are we good at, and what are we trying to deliver? Kelly, do you have anything to add?
No, you're saying it really
Okay.
well. It's like creating creating the customer experience and an expectation, and then exceeding that expectation
Right.
on every, you know, possible interface. People on the street, what you read on the signs.
The website.
Which is the
Exactly.
wayfinding part. of
Right, the way.
County.
Yes,
And how
yes.
the businesses actually tie into that, what you do at your counter, how you
Exactly.
support that, so that it just continues that kind of experience, and they're asking the questions that get to what the customer is, you know, their interests, and sending them to the right places. It's just an overall experience.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
that's something we did today. You know, everybody is so used to Ruby cakes, right? I mean, every resident in Los Alamos is like, we know Ruby. And so when Ruby brings her bagels to the chamber breakfast, she comes here, she chunks down a nice warm bag of bagel sandwiches, and we're cool with it. And so today I said, no, Ruby, I want you to lay out a spread for the chamber members. I want you to market your business. I want you to provide customer service for the chamber members. And look what she did for you guys. But for 3 years, you guys have not noticed or said a word about her just chunking down that bag of bagels. You were so used to it. And with me just saying, hey, no, marketing and customer service.
The baby muffins are a giveaway.
They are, but
That's
the decor.
the expectation.
Yes, the expectation. And that's
Yeah,
the difference.
that's it. It's all that little piece. Yes.
That's tourism.
So Linda, there's something more that I would like to see, the thriving business community on the weekends. And to me, that would be a big factor in tourism. But as we see, I mean, the businesses cannot support or choose not to be open on weekends. A lot of the restaurants, and so I don't know how you would encourage that or foster that, because a lot of the businesses and restaurants choose to close because there's just no one that comes.
Right.
And so I don't know how, they don't open because people don't come. but
Exactly,
then
it's kind of
maybe if
the-
they open, maybe people would come, but I don't know,
It
it's always
does.
been a problem.
And I
It's a
think-
little bit of the chicken or the egg.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's recognized, I can tell you as a CB Fox person. Yeah, we'd
You're
like
closed
to,
on Sundays,
like to
right?
be able to do it, but having the quality individuals, available to hire. So that we can do that, including stay open later, during the week is, not doable yet. Hope it is.
And we, the consultant heard that, and so that is an issue that we know about. The other thing that I'll just note that we all feel is kind of a, you know, an easy opportunity is Bandolier has, they're going to exceed 200,000 visitors this year. Probably, and I think in their heyday they were closer to 250. Whereas in town, probably the Bradbury probably has the most visitors after them, and I think they're about 80 to 90,000. So we really are losing out on over half of the visitors that go to Bandolier, and so that may be one of the first steps that we tackle. Now this plan will give us, first year, near-term goals and future, midterm and then long-term. So that may be one of the first things that they look at is, how do you capture more of the Bandolier, because they are coming to our county.
Ooh, I like that.
They are
Free
co-
shuttle up to the
Well,
hill, pay to get on
we-
the shuttle back to the car.
Yeah, we have, I don't know what it looks like, but that's a lot of people that are, they're coming through White Rock, right? So is it the use of the White Rock Visitor Center in a different and more creative way? Yeah, probably. It'll probably be some other things as well. Yeah, Brent.
We did just apply for
Oh, that's
a
right.
grant through New Mexico Tourism to possibly have them help us a little bit with that program.
That would be great.
And provide some funds to help with whatever we work out, so.
Exactly.
It's called
exactly.
a Rural Pathways Project Grant that, and when we mentioned this, trying to pull the people, get more of the visitors up from Bandolier, they're like, this is exactly where they are. And that part of this grant is a 20 hours one-on-one visioning process to come up with an idea that qualifies for those dollars, and they'll help us implement it. So it's continuing help from the tourism
Yeah.
department. That means they're as
So
well.
you're welcome. Thank you.
And we have received their, that grant before. They actually
Mhm.
helped us with the historic walking
Tour.
tour. When that was redone, they helped us with the signage and.
The brochure.
If you look, their logo is on those signs.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Okay.
Here's a question I should have asked before these left.
Oh.
As a business owner, but would it be helpful to the businesses, Dave Fox? If the chamber and LACDC, worked on a project to connect more employees with employers, helped on workforce development?
Yeah, if that pipeline gets real full, I'm not sure what you do with a stuffed pipeline, because there are not that many openings. But when the openings open up, it's critical that we have a pipeline to tap.
Well, I know
that
of
is
100
external-
non-Lionel
external.
jobs in town right now.
Say again?
I know of 100 non-Lionel jobs in town right now. So.
Yeah, you just addressed me, so I just answering for myself.
Yeah, and that's exactly the issue, to do these things, and we're going through a cycle right now where we need employees. But if you asked me 6 months ago, if you have people lining up, you were telling me, Memphis is an opportunity, well, no, it's not. So it kind of goes to the chicken or egg thing again. You don't want to raise people's hope that you've got this pipeline and there's something at the end of that pipeline for them. Because oftentimes we're not and everybody goes through their own cycles. But, you know, how do you match the need when the need is there, and then we'll go months, even a couple of years without having a need, so you've got those people just on standby. There's an art form to that, and it's hard to have a program that makes people, because there's not a constant flow.
Right, there's not always a constant supply of employees, and there's not always a constant supply of jobs in every industry. But when there's both popping in, and it's having a matrix of both, and having the communication between the two.
And of course, tied into that is having the county at large, having the capacity to hold on to businesses that start
Mhm.
and don't move like the cart. Pardon the quote.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
poor Patrick was the receiving end of me rearranging the town the other day.
Well, the cart, I mean, you're always gonna have companies that decide to leave for business decisions, which is what they did, and there's nothing you can really do to prevent that, other than, you know, try to build an ecosystem that is conducive to companies wanting to stay. You know, we actually have a large number of startup technology companies in town right now that people don't really necessarily know about, but they are here, they're well-funded, and they have no intention of moving. Their funders have no intention of them moving. You know, Descartes was a unique situation where it was a better business decision for them to have headquarters
I didn't
somewhere
mean
else.
to pick on that.
No, I understand. I'm just talking in general. But you know, in terms of kind of your entrepreneurial high-tech startup, it's more vibrant right now than it's been in 20 years here.
Good to hear. Yeah. That's a carefully kept secret.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, these companies at the stage they're at, you know, they're not necessarily seeking attention.
Yeah,
let's say.
but just for the mental health of the community, it's a good thing to publicize that
Sure.
from time to time.
Patrick wants
Find
the
a way.
high-tech startups, and I want the retailers.
They have
Patrick wants the
a good
hotels,
mix, a
and
good
I
mix of
want the
everything:
restaurants.
hotels, housing, restaurant,
Mhm.
high-tech,
All of it.
Just knowing about your pipeline idea is useful to us, because we can direct people that come to us if we don't have an opening for it. And so, where do we send them? To you?
And in the meantime, just for anyone who doesn't read Monday Messages, Dave, I know
don't
Andy
get
gets
Monday
it, I'm
messages,
picking
so
on you.
get off that.
On the chamber website, under resources, is our job postings. And all chamber members can post their jobs for free. And we've run jobs for every chamber member, including Buffalo Thunder, because they are a chamber member, and they send us about, what, Goofy, 10 jobs a week?
Yeah.
But I would rather be posting jobs that are on the Hill.
Well, what's the job applicant interface for that?
They send the description and the email or phone number or website where you go to apply. And we just copy and paste it.
But how does a job applicant find that?
Yeah.
So we're in the early stages of looking at creating kind of a job board website that would be hosted through the chamber.
Yeah, Los Alamos jobs.
Yeah, that's basically a site for employers and prospective employees to come in. So it'd be something that would be hosted through the chamber, where if you have a job, you can easily get it posted, and then kind of a place for, you know, something that's more locally focused than Indeed or Monster or something like that. That's, you know, cost prohibitive for a lot of smaller businesses to even use, and not necessarily the right place for them to post jobs.
Sorted by industry and the resumes sorted by experience.
Because that's important too, and I see things on Keep It Local Facebook group. You know, occasionally it comes up, somebody's looking for a job, well, they post it to something like on Facebook, which a week from now is gonna be outdated, because it's not a website.
Right.
If there was a live website that everybody could direct to. then
So
I think
that's,
that
yeah,
would be-
we're working on that this week, actually, so.
Yeah.
I've got one business person who operates a technical business out of his home and he's reached that point where he's ready either to move or to find somebody he can work with. He had the slightest idea that this exists.
Well, it doesn't
It
exist.
doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
But have him come talk to me.
But that interim, in the interim, I need a name that I can direct him to.
Just have him come talk to me, yeah.
Okay, we'll do it.
That's